All right, my next guest says that the vanity trade is still flying high. So let's bring in our MarketGauge Managing Director, Michelle Snyder. Michelle, I remember you first started talking about this vanity gauge, and it's just, I guess we all have it, particularly in this era. This might be the golden age for individual vanity. So still money to be made.
Absolutely. And it's really based on the diet drugs, Charles, because it changes lives, and it changes lives for a much longer period of time, possibly lifetime, than the yo-yo dieting that people have done over the last several decades. Right. So that's going to bring a whole new consumer into the market.
So that obviously means Lilly and Novartis, a couple of names, but you also like Hims, which is one of these names that it's got a lot of doubters and detractors.
Well, yeah, and it's been chopping around. It's been a bit of a heartache trade, but they just came out with news, a company that they took over dealing with cancer research. And I think what we're starting to see is a lot of melding between not just strictly diet drugs, but medicine, biotechnology, AI, and making it more accessible to people rather than through the traditional means that we always had to go get those sort of things. And that's where Hims comes in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, really the only problem is supply, I guess, because their business model, no one refutes that, I don't think, and to your point, this has a chance to be a grand slam. By the way, speaking of grand slams, let me get it in there. You were pounding the table on gold and silver long before 99% of the people who are taking victory laps now. So I guess the two questions, A, are you still holding? And if so, where did they go?
Well, right now, I'm really watching the ratio, right? So what that means is that how much gold is trading versus silver in terms of numbers.
Right.
So we have about an 80, which means gold is trading 80 times more the price of silver. As an old commodities trader on the floor, what we do know is that if that ratio breaks down, if it breaks down below 79, and now silver is trading 79 less times than gold, and goes down to 75 or 70, not only is that explosive for silver, but it also could mean inflation, which right now hasn't been the big concern on this run. So that's what I'm saying, is we got out. I'm watching that ratio, but I would be really willing to go in gangbusters to silver.
Last week I had a chartist, and he pointed to the long-term cup and handle in silver, and to your point, this, if it breaks out, he thinks 85. I've heard other people say even higher. So there's the industrial uses for it, some of the other things. So, speaking of which, I'm going to segue, but just a little bit. In rare earths, again, MP is a name you talked about for a long time. You talked about it when it was a boring stock.
It was a SPAC.
Yeah. So it's no longer boring. It's like, this is one of the hottest areas in the market. In fact, one of the hottest groups in the date session as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's face it, rare earth minerals, well, besides the whole political aspect of it, MP was the one that was always on my radar because it's in the United States. So it was all very prescient to think about it, although I didn't realize what I was thinking about really until these last couple of years with China and tariffs and the idea that we need to become more independent in that area. And it's the big driver of energy and AI. So I think that we see volatility because it's been such a meteoric rise, but I think that's definitely one that you want to look to be a dip buyer.
You're saying, hey, take a look at 3D printing, right? It had this big move. It didn't live up to the hype, but it's now maybe the time for people, and SSYS is the name you're looking at.
I like Stratasys. First of all, it's an Israeli company, but has a presence in the United States. Right. And 3D printing seems to me, again, it's one of these things, I get a theme in my head and I watch for the technicals to set up. And it's been beat up, but yet, think about it, the cost of things rising to build, the need for structure and cost of cement and building materials that could go up. 3D printing is a really good solution, and they're using it. SSYS got involved with NASCAR. That's what put it back on my radar. But I don't think it's dead yet. It spans all different types of sectors in terms of 3D printing. Right. And right now, it's so undervalued, this stock, as I believe. I think it has a lot of upside.
You know what? I tend to agree. This is one of the areas I'm looking at over the next few years to Gantian returns, because the technology's only gotten better as the stocks have gone and faded from our thoughts. Less than 10 seconds, 30 seconds. IBM's going to report. It was a name that I know you used to be in. Everyone's calling it the premier quantum play now. They've rebranded themselves. Would you be a buyer before, or would you wait for the earnings?
Well, we're already in IBM.
So you already have, you still have your position?
Yes, we
Okay.
bought it cheaper,
Okay.
so we've taken some profit as we do. But yeah, that stock was higher in the beginning of the year, and I don't see any reason why that can't go back up to the highs and possibly higher.
Michelle, it's been far too long. Thank you very
so
much.
much for having me.
Yeah.